You won't believe what just happened to Bahati, the Kenyan singer who grew up as an orphan, who told the world that his mother was dead, who built his entire story on pain and loss. He just came face to face with a woman claiming to be his mother who abandoned him. And what happened next has left him completely shattered. Tears, confusion, and a question that nobody, not even Bahati himself, can answer right now. This is the most emotional celebrity moment that Kenya has ever witnessed, and by the end of this video, you will understand why the entire country is crying. But before we get into the gut-wrenching details of this meetup, you need to understand the full story, because this is not just about a celebrity meeting a stranger. This is about a man who spent his entire life believing he had no family, suddenly discovering that everything he thought he knew might have been a lie. And the caption he posted alongside that video, those words are haunting. He said, and I quote, "I have finally met mom, and all I can say is that I am left with more questions than answers. I am confused." Now, let that sink in for a second. A grown-up man, a father, a husband, a gospel artist who has ministered to millions is now standing in front of a woman he has never known, calling her mom and admitting to the world that he is confused. Stay with me because this story has layers that will leave you speechless.
Habari ya asubuhi. Kwa salama. Sasa ulikuwa umeongea na Bahati akwambia mtakutana leo. Sasa yeye amekuwa anakungoja hapa na tumeshukuru umefika. Sasa hizi napenda tuende tukutane naye. Msalimie, unasikia aje?
Well, a few months ago, a woman appeared on the internet and made a claim that sent absolute shockwaves across Kenya. Her name was Judith Makokha, and she came out publicly on camera with tears in her eyes, saying 3 words that changed everything. "I am Bahati's mother." Now, let that land in. For over 2 decades now, Bahati and the entire nation believed that Bahati's mother was dead, gone and buried, never coming back again. And then, out of nowhere, a woman surfaces and says, "No, I am alive. I have always been alive, and I am his mother." The internet erupted. Kenyans were divided straight down to the middle. Some people believed her immediately. They looked at her face and said, "The resemblance is undeniable." Others were furious. They called her an opportunist. They said she was trying to ride on Bahati's fame. They accused her of showing up only after Bahati had become wealthy and successful. And then there were those who simply did not know what to think because the story was quite complicated. Judith Makokha did not just make a casual claim and disappear. She went in further. She provided details about her life, about the circumstances that led to her separation from her son, and she made one very bold demand, a DNA test. She said she was willing to prove scientifically that Bahati was her biological child. She was not hiding it. She was not running away. She was standing in front of the entire country saying, "Test me." That right there is what made people start to believe her, because why would someone volunteer for a DNA test if they were lying? But that is not all. Wait until you see what happened next, because Bahati's response to all of this was not what anyone expected. Now, when the story first broke, Bahati was remarkably quiet, and that silence was louder than any statement he could have made. The internet was on fire. Bloggers were covering it, news outlets were running with it, Kenyans on Twitter, which is now X, were debating it day and night, and Bahati said nothing. For weeks, he let the conversation rage without adding fuel to it. Some people interpreted his silence as denial, others said that he was processing, and a few close sources suggested that behind the scenes, Bahati was going through one of the most difficult emotional experiences of his life. Think about it from his perspective. You have built your entire identity around being an orphan. Your music, your brand, your testimony, your story of rising from nothing. All of it is anchored on the belief that your parents are gone. And then someone shows up and says, actually, your mother is still alive. She has been alive this whole time and she wants to meet you. These are not simple questions and these are not simple words. These are the kind of questions that can unravel a person from the inside out. And based on what we saw in that video he posted, that unraveling has already begun. And now we get to the moment that brought Kenya to its knees. Bahati finally met Judith Makokha face to face for the first time in his life, and he shared the video of that meeting on his Instagram page for the entire world to see. The footage is, and I do not use this word lightly, devastating. From the very first frame, you can see it in Bahati's eyes. This is not a man who is at peace. This is a man who is being torn apart by emotions. He does not know how to process. The moment he sees Judith, there is this pause, this heavy suffocating pause, where neither of them seem to know what to do. And then the tears come. Not gentle, these are the kind of tears that come from somewhere deep, somewhere painful, somewhere primal, the kind of tears that a child cries when they have been lost for too long and they do not know if they are finally found or if this is just another cruel trick life is playing on them. Judith Makokha was also very emotional, visibly shaking. Reaching out to a son she says she had not held in decades, and standing beside her were two young individuals, Bahati's alleged siblings, people he never knew existed, brothers or sisters he has never shared a meal with, never laughed with, never fought with, never grew up with. They were just there, standing in the gap of all those lost years, living proof that somewhere out there a family existed that he never was part of. The comment section on Bahati's Instagram page has become a river of tears. Thousands upon thousands of Kenyans have flooding in with messages of support, empathy, and raw emotion. People are saying they could not watch the videos without crying. Others shared their own stories of family separation and reunion. Some simply wrote, "Pole," the Swahili word for sorry, because sometimes there are no adequate words. But now, here is the part that hit the hardest. Here is the moment that elevated this from emotional to deeply unsettling. It was Bahati's caption. Those words he typed underneath that video. He did not say, "I found my mother and I am happy." He did not say, "This is the best day of my life." He said, "I have finally met mom, and all I can say is I am left with more questions than answers. I am confused." That is no resolution. That is the beginning of something far more complex, and the question that he is referring to, those are the questions that could reshape everything we think we know about the Bahati story. So, what are the questions that Bahati says are haunting him? Let us break them down because they are significant and they deserve serious attention. First, if Judith Makokha is truly his mother and she has been alive all this time, who told Bahati that she was dead? Someone at some point either directly told him or allowed him to believe that his mother had passed away. That is not a small thing. That is a fundamental lie that shapes the course of his entire life. Who is responsible for that, and why did they do it? Second, why did Judith not come forward sooner? Because Bahati had been famous in Kenya for over a decade. His face had been on billboards, on television screens, on magazine covers. If this woman is truly his mother, she would have recognized him. She would have seen him. So, what took her so long? Was she afraid? Was she ashamed? Was someone preventing her from reaching out? Or is there a more complicated truth holding beneath the surface? Third, what happened during the years of separation? What are the circumstances that led to a mother and a child being torn apart? Was it poverty? Was it illness? Was it a deliberate choice? The answers to these questions matter because they determine whether this is a story of tragic circumstance or a story of willful abandonment. And those two narratives lead to very, very different emotional outcomes. Fourth, the siblings. Who are they? How old are they? Did Judith raise them while Bahati grew up in a children's home? Because if she did, that opens up an entirely new dimension of pain. It means that she was capable of raising children, just not him. That is just a wound that no amount of tears or hugs can heal. And fifth, perhaps the most pressing question of all, has the DNA test been done? Because until that test confirms or denies the biological connection, everything exists in a state of uncertainty, and uncertainty, especially in matters this personal, is a kind of a torture. The reaction from Kenyans has been nothing short of extraordinary. This story has transcended celebrity gossip and entered the realm of national conversation. People are not just watching this as entertainment anymore. They are feeling it because Bahati's story touches on something universal: the longing for belonging, the need to know where you come from, and the fear that the truth might be more painful than the mystery. On social media, the hashtag related to Bahati and Judith Makokha trended for hours. Influencers, pastors, politicians, and ordinary citizens all weighed in. Some called for privacy and respect, others called for transparency, a few even called for a public DNA test to settle the matter once and for all. Counselors and psychologists have gone online to remind people that what Bahati is going through is a recognized psychological phenomena. The emotional impact of reuniting with a long-lost parent, especially one that you believed was dead, can trigger a cascade of response including grief, anger, relief, confusion, and even a sense of betrayal. It is not uncommon for the person in Bahati's position to feel worse, not better, after the reunion, at least initially, and that might explain his caption perfectly. So, where does Bahati go from here? The honest answer is nobody knows, not even him. What we do know is that this story is far from over. There are still critical pieces of that puzzle that are missing. The DNA results, if they have been taken, they have not been made public. The full details of Judith Makokha's story have not been independently verified, and Bahati himself has admitted that he is in a state of confusion, which means he has not yet arrived at any conclusion. What is clear, however, is that this journey, whatever the outcome, is going to change Bahati. It has to. You cannot come face to face with a ghost from your past and walk away the same person. Whether Judith Makokha is confirmed as his biological mother or not, the experience of sitting across from her or looking into her eyes, of seeing those siblings, of feeling those emotions, that has already left a mark. And the music that will come from this, it will be unlike anything Bahati has ever created, because the deepest art comes from the deepest pain, and right now, Bahati is in the deepest waters of his life. This story has shaken Kenya to its core, and honestly, it has shaken me too. If you felt something watching this, if this story moved you, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Do you believe Judith Makokha is truly Bahati's mother? Should the DNA results be made public? And most importantly, what will you do if you are in Bahati's shoes? Hit that subscribe button, because this story is developing and I will be bringing you every single update as it unfolds. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and remember, sometimes the truth we have been searching for is harder to carry than the lie we have been living with. I will see you in the next one.